Kevin is going to kind of throw the questions out. These, again, aren't his questions. They're questions that have come both from his brother down south as well as a number of other people that have written in, and just kind of a conglomeration of things that are practical and I think significant. And some of the answers will be a lot longer than yes or no, or we do this or we do that, because it's really not the issue. This isn't about methodology. This is about finding the basic principles that are on God's heart and then working them out in a practical way. God's called an architect. Jesus was called essentially an architect. Paul referred to himself as an architect. And the house that God's building requires an architect viewpoint of building that house. Frank Lloyd Wright would build one kind of house in Colorado and a different sort of house down in the Southwest in Arizona, dependent on what he was wanting to accomplish in order to fit in with the environment that it was in. And God's the same way. He builds a different house in Honduras than he does in Brazil, than he does in Poland, than he does in England, than he does in Phoenix. And that's okay. But there's going to be a very common thread in the workmanship, in the principles that govern it. The houses all had to have a certain sort of support, a certain sort of foundation and footing. There are a lot of different significant similarities between all the different houses that Frank Lloyd Wright built. The outside may have looked different, but the integrity of the structure was essentially the same. And you'll find that's true in the ecclesia, the house of God, the true church that Jesus is wanting to build as well, that they're very common qualities regardless of the outworkings or the methodology. So don't try to copy methodology. In Acts 6, when they had a big problem with the Grecian widows, the answer to the question wasn't, here's what we're going to do. Everybody from A to L go over here. All the widows from M to R go over here. They didn't handle it from a methodology standpoint. That's not God's answer to a problem. It's methodology. His answer to a problem is, men, choose from among yourselves 7 men full of the Holy Ghost and full of wisdom. Why is that the answer to a problem with feeding widows? It's not experience in the restaurant business. It's men that know God, can see the Son of Man standing at the right hand of the glory of God. Those men will be able to see the variables as they arise. They'll see the dynamics. They'll see the hearts and the minds and the lives of the situation. And they'll be able to adapt. They'll be able to bring a dynamic of decision and life into a situation, into a problem. And so that's still God's plan, is men full of the Holy Ghost and full of wisdom. If you're not full of the Holy Ghost and full of wisdom, and your life isn't willing to be consecrated to God in your ambitions and plans and your idolatries of, again, family or hobby or preference, if you're not willing to put everything, your reputation and everything on the line for the sake of Jesus, then, again, the answers to these questions, if you try to duplicate something, it's just going to end up to be a lot of junk. Wood, hay, and stubble that'll be burned up on the last day. This is about having God's heart, God's mind, and embracing the principles of God, regardless of the cost in our lives. And then the outworkings of it tend to work themselves out in the environment that we're in as God, the master architect, directs. So that's kind of a preface to this. Don't try to get ideas of ways to do things. Try to find the heart and the mind of God and the principles of God that will lay bare the motives of your heart, expose any, your idolatry or comfort of living or those sorts of things, the things that you greedily grab onto. The living and active Word will lay bare those things, the motives and the intents of the heart. And then you'll be able to hear God's voice to know what to do in a particular circumstance. So let's go ahead and proceed into these questions. And again, listen for the heart and the principle, not the method.